want to continue on going into this book of Joshua. So we're going to start off Joshua chapter 18. Joshua chapter 18. Joshua chapter 18, beginning at the first verse. It says, Now the whole congregation of the children of Israel assembled together at Shiloh and set up the tabernacle of meeting there. And the land was subdued before them. But there remained among the children of Israel 7 tribes which had not yet received their inheritance. Then Joshua said to the children of Israel, How long will you neglect to go and possess the land which the Lord your God of your fathers has given you? Pick out from among you 3 men for each tribe, and I will send them, and they shall rise and go through the land, survey it according to their inheritance, and come back to me. Today I want to talk to you a little bit about go get it. Go get it. There is a situation going on here that we've gotten to in Joshua, and that is that the Bible says the land was subdued. That means that they were running the show. They were running the show. There was no struggle. There was no strain. God had already blessed them with the land, but there are 7 tribes that still had not walked into their inheritance. So in our lives, we got to realize the promises of God have been laid out for us, but they're not going to do us any good until we go and take possession of them. So we're going to get into how we would take possession of it, how we can begin to walk in the promises of God that He has for us. So the first thing we have to realize is, like Pastor Emily was talking about, it's going to take faith to conquer the things that God has already said that you have. It's going to take faith to do that. God has laid out everything for you, but you have to have faith in order to receive the promise. So I want to turn to Hebrews in the New Testament, Hebrews chapter 11. Hebrews chapter 11. So it's good to get excited about the promise, but you have a lot of people getting you excited about the promise. Oh, God promises riches. God promises this. And you get excited about it, but it's not going to do you any good if you don't have no faith to receive it. Hebrews chapter 11, verse 6 says, But without faith it is impossible to please, and this is the Amplified Bible, it's impossible to please and be satisfactory to Him. For whoever would come near to God must necessarily believe that God exists and that He is a rewarder of those who earnestly and diligently seek Him out. You are seeking Him out by faith. I'm looking for this thing to come to pass by faith. So that there has to be that faith there to be pleasing to God. Because when God is pleased with you, then doors can open for you. Doors can open for you. The Bible said when a man's ways please the Lord, even his enemies are going to be at peace with him. So you gotta have a situation where you have faith in God, you're doing what is pleasing to God, and then now He can go ahead and put His stamp of approval on you taking into your inheritance. So you got to have faith. But just having faith, even like Pastor Emily was talking about, just having faith is not good enough. Just having faith is not good enough. I'll give you a perfect example. I'll tell you what. Pastor Emily, let me show them something. All right. Pastor Emily, now do you trust me, first off?
Yes.
If you don't, we got a problem. Okay. I have a laptop computer for you. Okay? Are you happy? Does that make you excited?
Yes.
Okay. I got a laptop computer for her. Okay? It's in that bag over there. It's yours. Okay? Technically, it is yours. I got a laptop in that bag for you. It's yours. Okay? Are you excited about it?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, sit down. Thank you very much. Now, she was excited about it, but she went back and sat down. Now, what's the problem with that? She didn't go get it. So that's mine? Oh, thank you. I'd have been over there before he could even get the words out of his mouth. That was hers. And the same thing was happening with the children of Israel. God said, I got that land over there for y'all. And 7 tribes were sitting there saying, But God was saying, well, how come y'all not going to get it? It doesn't make no sense, does it? But we do that same thing with God's promises. You know, when you get that pain or that sickness in your body, God has promised healing. God has it for you, but you'll sit there and you won't go possess it. It doesn't make sense. So your faith has to be backed up by corresponding action. So I'll turn to James in the New Testament. Turn to James. So we're going to continue on into this thing. So you have faith. Now your faith has to be backed up by action. Action. James chapter 2. And we'll start at verse 14. I'm reading out of the Amplified because I want you to see exactly what James is saying. Because James is not, if you read the King James Version, you'll think that James is saying this nice thing to the people and encouraging them. No, James he's getting a little rough, and you're going to see. Verse 14 says, what is the use or profit, my brethren, for any to profess that they have faith, if he has no good works to show for it? Can such a faith save the soul? If a brother or sister is poorly clothed, okay, you're going to have to turn around and quit talking. Turn around and quit talking, okay? If your brother or sister is poorly clothed or lacks food for each day, and one of you says to him, goodbye, keep yourself warm and well fed, without giving him the necessities of the body, what good does that do? So, here is Jordan. Jordan, stand up. Jordan is homeless and she has no food to eat. And that's sad. Okay, but see, Jordan comes to see me, and I say, okay, Jordan, it's nice seeing you. Hey, make sure you stay warm out there in the wintertime, and make sure you get you something to eat, okay? Now, is that going to do her any good? Well, it would do her some good if I gave her some clothes. Here's a coat. You're going to stay warm out there, and then I give her some food so she could eat. That's the sense that James is trying to get you to see, how faith without corresponding action. If I'm going to tell her something like that, I got to have a corresponding action to make sure she's going to do that. Here, I got you this coat. Now you're going to stay warm out there, and this is food right here, so you make sure you eat, okay? See, now she has something to work with. But before, she just go out there cold and tired and hungry, because I didn't give her the necessities that she needed to get through. Thank you, Jordan, for being homeless today. So we have faith, but if there's no corresponding action, it doesn't do us any good. So verse 17 says, so also faith, if it does not have works, deeds or actions of obedience to back it up. That's what he's talking about. It's not talking about just works. It's not talking about just any work. Well, I got faith, and I do work, got a job, so hey, my faith is in action. No, he's talking about corresponding action to back up what you believe. Corresponding action to back up what you believe. I believe that God will supply all my needs according to his riches and glory. Now, my corresponding action to back that up is that I give, because I believe that he's taking care of me. So I sow a seed by faith, knowing that he's going to bring it back to me. That's a corresponding action. So faith without deeds and actions of obedience to back it up itself is destitute of power, inoperative, or dead. So this breaks it down. Your faith is dead if there's no action with it. But someone will say to you, say you have faith and I have good works. Now show me your alleged faith apart from any good works, if you can. And I, by good works of obedience, will show you my faith. So we're putting two guys side by side. One guy says he has faith. One guy says he has faith, but I have corresponding action to back it up. So show me how your faith is going to work, and I'll show you how mine works. So you see the one guy getting blessed because he has corresponding action, and then the other guy is still standing there because his faith is dead. It's inoperative. You got to have corresponding action. Verse 19, he said, you believe God is one. You do well. So do the demons believe and shudder in terror and horror. Makes a man's hair stand up on end and contract on the surface of any skin. So in other words, it's easy for you to say you have faith. I have faith in God. I believe in God. Well, so do the demons. They believe there's a God. So James is like, okay, that's no big deal. The demons believe. What are you going to do to show what's your proof? In verse 19, that's what he says. Are you willing to be shown proof, you foolish, unproductive, spiritually deficient fellow, that faith apart from good works is inactive and ineffective and worthless? So he's letting them have it. So you foolish, unproductive, spiritually deficient. That is not a compliment. He's letting them have it. Because they seem to think, the people he's writing to seem to have thought that having faith was just enough without any type of act of obedience to go with that. So you have to have corresponding action, because corresponding action, what that tells God is that I trust you. I trust you so much that you're going to do what you said, that I'm willing to step out in it before I even see it. Because we walk by faith, not by sight. But you have to walk by faith. It's an action. It's an action. I don't see it yet, but I know it's there. God comes to Abraham and says, Abraham, if you leave your family and get out of this country that you're in, I'm going to take you to a land that I show you. And you're going to be the father of many nations, and I'm going to bless you. And the Bible did not say Abraham went back in his tent and stayed where he was. No, the Bible said he got up, packed his stuff up, packed up his wife, and said, okay, we got to go. Now, the interesting thing is, he didn't see any of that right then when God told him. It would have been nice if all the monies and all the things he was going to have fell out the sky when God talked to him. It didn't happen. Stuff did not begin to happen for Abraham until he began to step out in the word that God had given. Stuff is not going to happen for us until we begin to step out in the word that God has given. He said, I'm going to go, and if you go, I'm going to bless you. And then we see that blessing starts off immediately, just about as soon as he goes. He gets blessed with cattle and land and oxen and all these things. You have to have corresponding action. That action of obedience is going to sustain you for the rest of your life. And his blessing, his obedience was so powerful that it sustained not only him, but it went on for generations, and it's still going on today. The people of Israel are blessed. They're blessed. And it's all because of this one act of obedience by Abraham. You have to have that corresponding action. There's a story in the Bible about a man named Elijah. He went to the king and said, it's not going to rain until I say so. And then he took off running because they're going to kill him. And so God told him, if you go down to this brook, I've already commanded the ravens to come and feed you. Now Elijah could have laughed and said, ravens going to feed me for real? Birds going to feed me for real? No, man, hey, we got to find some other way, because I can't trust no bird to feed me. What, they going to feed me some worms? No. But he, out of his obedience, took a step of faith and said, I'm going to go to this brook that God said. And next thing you know, the Bible says that the birds were bringing him bread and good meat. That were bringing him bread and meat every day. 3 meals a day. Thank you, birds. They bring him the meat, bring him the bread. So he has some good meals. But then there came a time where the brook dried up. There's a famine in the land. There's drought. And so God says, I want you to go and to Zarephath, and there's a widow there that's going to help sustain you throughout the rest of this thing. And he goes and he finds this lady, because he knows what God told him. He finds this lady, and she barely making it herself. She said, look, I'm about to make a little cake for me and my son. We're going to eat it, and then we're going to die. That's all we got left. Now, Elijah could have looked up at God and said, is this the woman you said is going to take care of me? Because there's a problem. She don't have nothing. I mean, he thought he was going to go over to the rich widow's house. Maybe she might have hooked him up better. But what God did was he allowed Elijah to be used by him to speak a word to her. It's okay, do what you said you're going to do, but make me a little bitty cake first. And then if you do that, then you're not going to run out of flour. You're not going to run out of oil. You're going to have food for the rest of this time. And she takes that act of obedience, and the Bible said they never ran out until the Lord sent rain on the earth. They never ran out of food. So he was in the right place. So he had to take a step of faith, and then she had to take a step of faith too in what he said. So this corresponding action creates opportunity that you wouldn't have otherwise. And opportunity sometimes is what opens doors and what gets you in doors that you are not qualified to get into. You need opportunity. But you can't have that if you don't have faith. So we have in our topic here, we have 7 tribes that had not taken their portion of the promised land. 7 tribes. Now there are 12 tribes of Israel. So 5 of the tribes were like, hey, we got ours. We got ours. So 7 tribes are still sitting there. And Joshua's wondering, why are you still sitting there? Because God has already done his part. His part's already done. He said, I've given you the land, it's yours. But they had a responsibility to walk into what God has already done. They had a responsibility to walk in it. They could not sit there and just expect it to show up. They had to go and possess the land. That's what he tells them, to go and possess the land. But they didn't take part of their inheritance. So what were they waiting for? Would be my question. These guys are sitting there, 7 tribes, and you see early in Joshua, we see these battles where they were, conquering the land and things, and different tribes were taking their portion of the inheritance, and the whole army was going with them. They were fighting. So these 7 tribes, I don't know if they were sitting there because, hey, is the whole army going to go with us and get our land too? See, God sometimes designs some things for you to do, without putting other people's involvement, because you cannot have someone else do what God has called you to do yourself. You can't have someone else do what God called you to do yourself. It's your responsibility to walk in it. Well, I'm just waiting on my friend because he got the hookup over here. You're not going to have time for that. If God has given it to you, you won't have time for hookups or help or anything like that. The door has already been opened. You won't need help because he's already won the battle for you. All you got to do is get yourself in order so that way you'll be able to partake in the inheritance. So these people had an obligation, an opportunity to take action on their promise, but they just sat there. Sat there so much so that Joshua had to get up and say something like, look, hey, I notice y'all still here. Why aren't y'all in the land that God promised you? So if you don't go get it, here's what I'm going to do. Pick 3 guys out of each of your tribes. Y'all go out and spy out the land, and I'll divide it up. So now the leader has to come in and say, okay, I'll divide up the land. Since you couldn't go possess it, now I'm going to divvy up and let you know what you're going to get. That's a shame. Them other tribes, they got a bunch of land. Yeah, we want this. This looks good right here. Just right by the river. This is good. They got to pick. These other guys didn't get no chance to pick. You lose opportunities when you just sit there. Your options become limited when you just sit there. But when you walk in what God has told you, there are going to be options. Okay, I like this. It's going to be like going to the Golden Corral. Who's been to the Golden Corral here? Okay. Do they just have one thing there that you can get and that's it? Like you go to this section, that's it, right? What do they have? You got chicken, you got the salad bar. They have what? And there's a man in the front that's frying what? Steaks. And you can even tell the man how you want your steak. Because when you walk up there, the man asks you, how do you want your steak? Oh, well, I want it medium well. Oh, we got a few here. And he'll let you pick the piece even sometime. But what happens if you standing there all day and the man said, what kind of piece do you want? And there's a line forming behind you because, I tell you what, here, you're going to get this piece right here. There you go. Choices are made for you when you can't make the choices yourself. But there are so many options there. You go to the salad bar, they don't just have lettuce. But here's this lettuce, there you go. They have more than just the lettuce. What do they have? Tomatoes, spinach. They have ice cream too. If you want that on your salad, you can put ice cream on your salad. They even got cotton candy out there. And Pastor Emily is the cotton candy fiend when we go out there. She'll go out there and say, they don't have no cotton candy up there. I said, well, just ask somebody and they'll bring it out. And so I have to end up going up there saying, hey, y'all making cotton candy today, because Pastor Emily be chicken to go up there too. So, but you got all these options, right? So, your job, you have one job when you go in the Golden Corral. It's not to wait on the tables. Let me go in there and say, hey, can I help you, sir? No, you cannot help you. You're the one come in here and paid already. Why would you pay to go and do that? No. What options do you have to go there? To eat. Eat what? Eat whatever you pick from. Right? They don't have people come and put stuff on your plate that you don't want. Well, here's some beans for you. I don't want no beans. But because these guys did not go and possess their land, what happened? Joshua said, okay, I'm going to divide this thing up. You're going to get those beans. What if they were already out there and possessing their land? They could have picked what they wanted. Because the Bible says they had to cast lots, and we'll see who gets what. Casting lots like throwing dice, what the dice fall on. Okay, you get this, you get that, you get this. Joshua was going to have to divide up the land that these guys were just supposed to walk in and pick. All because they decided that they wanted to sit there rather than go get it. We have to take action on the promises that God has given us, or else what happens is we become limited, and we're not living the life that God intended for us. We're living beneath our privileges, and then some people have the nerve to turn around and blame God. I just don't know why God would do this to me. I hate working at this place. You had options, but what you did was, because you did not step in what God had for you, the options became limited. I guess this is the only place that's hiring. Why? Options limited. You got to know what season you got to walk in this thing, or else your life is not going to have an impact in the earth. You'll just be that one that's getting up, punching the clock every day. Okay. Just going in, okay, here we go, another day. Just making it through another day. Just them guys. Like them guys on the Looney Tunes, the dog and the coyote. They're going, hi Sam, how you doing? Punch in. Then he start chasing them. Punch in their clock, do the same thing every day. And you're sitting there and you're like, I thought my life would be more than this. I thought things were going to be differently. I thought I had so many dreams that I was going to be doing this and that and that, and that's your land. What you saw was your land. But because you didn't take steps towards it, now somebody is making choices for you. But you don't want to get to that point. What you want to do is, if God calls you and says, hey, I'm giving you this idea for a business, go get your business. Go get your business. I'm giving you this idea for something that you're going to invent or make. And, what if people had this? What if people had that? That'd be a good idea. Why did he give that to you? It's time for you to go get it. Because the thing that God tells you to go get is designed to sustain you. It's not designed for you to be limited in life. It's designed for you to have unlimited resources. And when you have unlimited resources, you can open a door for somebody else. I can go help homeless Jordan. But I can't help her if I'm homeless myself. Can I borrow your coat? No, I'm cold too. Can't help nobody if you're limited. But when you step into God's provision, you now have stepped into the supernatural, which a supernatural resource is unlimited. Every time you reach in there, there's a supply. Do you ever see the people? What happens when they run low on stuff at Golden Corral? What happens when the pan is getting low of different food? They bring some more out. They had that bourbon chicken out there. And chips. And they start to run low. You don't want to scrape the last few. Bring me out that fresh. And just when you think that thing is out, they come back out there. And sometimes them ladies be mad. Oh, we got to put some more out. Hey, oh well. I got an unlimited supply. If you had a problem with that sign that said all you can eat, you shouldn't put that sign up there. I remember we went to a place, and these people It's all you can eat, steak and shrimp, Friday nights. And they would put this much shrimp out there, and it's like 70 people in the place. So people were standing in line waiting for the shrimp. And the steak man just put out a little steak. Now, but the little he put out was on point. But he put out a little steak, and then them people would just be standing in line. And they wondered why these people standing and waiting and things like that. Because we came in, I was like, why are these people standing and waiting? And it was because every time the shrimp would come, they'd be gone. I mean, it was enough for one person to get their plate taken care of, and then, we're waiting on shrimp. That is not the buffet to go to. That's not the place to go. There's limits. And so what we end up doing is like, well, they're not bringing stuff out. We just got to get this other stuff. And the other stuff wasn't necessarily nothing that we were all excited about. We just wanted to eat. We were hungry at that point. So I'm like, we'll never come back here again. Because you don't like to be limited. I like to get what I pay for. You should want to get what Jesus paid for you to get. You shouldn't want anything less than what Jesus paid for you to get. And he paid for you, not just the Jewish people, but he paid for you to have access to these promises. And so now that we have access, what are we going to do with it? Are we going to sit there like these guys? Or are we going to seize the moment and opportunity to make our choices in possessing the land? Amen.